I can hear myself, though.
Yeah, you can hear yourself, but I didn't have the output volume up. Now I do. Check, check. 1, 2. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Check, testing.
Go again.
Check, testing.
Happy?
Yeah, that's how it was last time.
2, 1, mic's up. Sunday afternoon football returns to Genesee Steel Stadium.
Preston, number 77, Avondale. Number 4, Aaron Anderson. 1, Jacob Ogniowski. Number 99, Sammy Dibb. Number 11, Jonas Markowski. And number 8, Luke Gino. And for Avondale in goals, number 21, Thomas Manos. Number 3, Daniel Edwards. Number 4, Aidan Bryce. Number 7, Ian Stefan Vinny. Number 10, Manilak Webb.
And we're back, round 19 in NPL Victoria. Preston Lions versus Avondale FC. Avondale looking to bridge the gap to Heidelberg to 1 point with a win today. Preston can go level with Hume City and restore their gap to Dandenong City in the race for finals football. A crucial fixture for both clubs. Preston make 3 changes from the side that went down 2-1 in the last minute against South Melbourne last week. Dom Foligno comes in for his first start since round 10. So too Marcus Strowen and Giorgio Sir Dennis. For Avondale, 2 changes from the side that knocked Dandenong Thunder out of the Australia Cup and Doherty Cup on Tuesday night. No Luca Tavia or Yusuf Ahmed in the matchday squad. In come Jackson Courtney Perkins and Sian Cuba, with Jacob Chinema and Stefan Sijatovic elevated to the bench. The captain, Aidan Bryce, in possession. What a welcome addition he has been, making his return against the Thunder on Tuesday. Tom Manos between the sticks. Bryce in the back 4 alongside Kalalu Kamara and Emlyn Wellsmore. Dan Edwards back to his natural position of left back now, with Yite Towns and Christian Trajewski alongside Cuba in midfield. Stefan Zini and Manny Agwek, the top scorer in the competition with 13 goals, level with 2 other competitors in the Golden Boot race. He's up top, and he netted twice against Preston last time out, so he's the danger man to watch. As Romero wins it back, but his pass is too heavy for Leighton Brooks. We'll go through the Preston starting lineup. Trenkovski between the sticks. Jake Tchaikovsky returns to his natural position of central defence alongside Matthew Bozanovsky. Dom Foligno comes in at left back with Stefan Negro continuing at right full back. Marcus Strowen comes in midfield alongside Brandon Lawton. Jason Romero at the 10. Leighton Brooks, Giorgio Sir Dennis and Connor Bell are the front line. On the bench for Preston today, Jacob Ogniowski, Aaron Anderson, Luke Jego, Jonas Markowski, Jan Albano and Sammy Dibb coming into the matchday squad. My name is Josh Parrish, and I'm delighted to be joined by a man who's coached against both of these teams this season, Rick Marchioli. Welcome.
Thanks, Josh. It's a pleasure to be almost back on the sideline. I'm just looking forward to watching 2 teams who I know like to control the game with the ball, so should be a good hit out, and it's good to see Preston already on the front foot at the beginning of this game.
Preston in their black and red third strip today, Avondale in the all blue. As Avondale haven't faced Preston at this ground in 12 years, but Genesee Steel Stadium is no stranger to them. They have hosted multiple cup fixtures at this venue, given the lights at Avenger Park are only training quality. Those midweek cup matches have been a travelling circus for Avondale, but they're back on the national stages, qualifying for the round of 32 in the Doherty Cup semi-finals. They will face South Melbourne away at Lakeside in those local Victorian semis. Australia Cup draw to take place on Wednesday next week. Tchaikovsky's pass is picked off. Courtney Perkins sliding it into space. Agwet can't quite get there in time, and Marcus Strowen is around to cover.
They're quite good at that, Avondale. They'll sit in that sort of mid-block a little bit at times, and when they do pick you off, they'll go at such speed. It's so difficult to stop, and they've been doing it for a number of years now. They're they're quite well versed.
Schroen. Coming back to Tchaikovsky. And the goalkeeper Trenkovsky to clear.
Interested to see how this Preston midfield goes, because Schroen's come in for Oli Kubile today, who's suspended, and it'll be interesting to see how he does against Trejcheski, Towns and Cuba in there. That's an interesting battle for two teams that like to have the ball and like to control the game.
It's almost the worst game for Oli Kubile to miss as that defensive anchor in midfield, given that Avondale are the most prolific team in the competition. Whereas Preston have been very sturdy at the back this season. Goals in recent weeks have been the issue. Got the third best defensive record in the league, but 10th in attack. Giorgio Sardenis unable to keep his feet in the duel with Kamara. Few attackers in this league can, to be fair. Edwards down the line. Schroen's header. Agwek first to the loose ball. Zinni motoring down the left. He's looking for Agwek in the middle, but Stefan Nigro makes the interception and concedes the game's first corner.
That's almost the exact situation I was talking about. They win the ball back and they pick you off. They get both 8s, or the 8 and the 10 into the box, and they're dangerous. And here they go quick.
Short corner routine, whipped in, and Bozanovsky deals with it well enough. And now Romero would have a pocket of space on the break. Trejcheski chasing back. This is Connor Bell inside onto his right. Sees the effort blocked. Courtney Perkins with the flick. He felt he was pushed. Ross Clark, today's referee, unmoved. This is Brooks. Awkward bouncing ball. Has to retreat to keep possession. Schroen. Composed work to feed it through the gap and find his central defender. Preston switch the play down the left. It's Foligno. He's looking for Connor Bell, but those two who haven't played together in a while, not quite on the same wavelength.
And there wasn't much connecting inside there either for Foligno. He only really had Bell on the side, on the left there. Neither Marcus Schroen or Brandon Lawton were able to get close enough to connect with Dom Foligno there.
Lubietsevsky out to the edge of his technical area, barking instructions for the press. Trejcheski, clever little flick. Stefan Zinni was too deep in his own half to make the most of it. It's interesting, Schroen playing as that deepest midfielder. It really is a straight swap for Kubile's role in the team.
Yeah, and you can see immediately he's dropping between the two central defenders. I think maybe anticipating that Avondale were going to press with 2 up top, but they're only pressing with the 1/3, so it's very much a 4-5-1, 4-3-3 sort of pressing shape for Avondale, so I'm not sure if that extra man at the back for Preston's going to be of much use.
Let's go.
Big job for Jason Romero today to try and stick with Yite Towns. We've seen teams playing it away at Avenger Park try and tag him. The Knights, the most recent of those sides. It's Stephen Lawless doing the man-marking job, which was working for about 20 minutes. And then Avondale turned it on in the second half.
Yeah, the problem is if you step onto Towns, then you leave one of the other two free in a passing lane, and it becomes very difficult to then contain them.
Neatly done by Lawton. Ball whipped him towards Sir Dennis. It was a little high for him. And Aidan Bryce underneath it to clear. Drops to Lawton again. Schroen looking for Steph Nigro. Clever dummy. Gets it back from Brooks. The cut back for Romero. A golden chance for Preston squandered in the opening minutes. Jason Romero in all sorts of space.
Lovely move. Negro in the half space, letting it go and then taking off behind the defensive line. Brooksy read it and played him in. Stronger connection there from Jason Romero, and that's probably 1-0.
Just seemed to scuff his shot slightly. It looked to take a nick off Wellsmore on the way, which took a bit further sting out of the shot.
Pleasing thing for Preston is some of the positions that they're getting to in the box. Giorgio Sardena's just before that, getting between the centre-backs. Romero arriving on the edge. That's danger for Avondale. Good signs for Preston in the front third already.
Oh, Tom Manos is deep in conversation with Ross Clark, who's telling him to get a move on.
He's arguing that Sardenas shouldn't be in the D on the restart. He's arguing that he's got to be outside the box and that the D is included in that.
We know it is for penalties. I'm not actually sure what the ruling is for goal kicks. I've got to be honest. Be deep in the rule book. So Dennis still standing in the D. He's going to be allowed to. Bryce, bit of a hopeful ball. Schroman's header. Brooks came flying in, didn't connect. Courtney Perkins. Preston looking to harass these Avondale players who've had a shorter turnaround since Tuesday. And that went for the full 120 minutes in the Cup against Thunder. Eventually the dam broke with Stefan Valentini scoring a brace off the bench. Not enough to earn him a space in the starting lineup tonight. This afternoon, I should say. Not used to afternoon football at Jenna Steele Stadium. It feels very weird being here for a 3 p.m. kickoff again.
I think Valentini's just getting back to fitness as well, but what a weapon to have off the bench. Incredible embarrassment of riches for Avondale. Even this man on the ball coming back into the lineup. What a blessing that is for Avondale.
He's a playmaker from central defence, and he's picked out Manny Agwek beautifully. This is Agwek. No way past Steph Negro.
Negro's done really well there to both cut off the shot and the passing lane to the overlapping player. Good defending.
Avondale on the ball again. Cuba running at Negro, then Courtney Perkins trying the return ball. He swapped flanks with Stefan Zinni for the moment. Preston win it back. Been a very positive start from Preston against one of the top sides in the competition. Bell wrestled to the ground by Wellsmore, and the whistle will go. Again, energy and application proving the difference in the front third for Preston as they win the ball back.
And that's usually an area of Avondale's game that I know they pride themselves on, especially winning those 1v1 duels through the middle of the park. Might be a little bit worrying signs early on. Could be a little bit leggy from the other night too.
Preston have come out all guns blazing. And this is Romero over the dead ball. It's been caught by the wind, and Manos was in trouble for a moment. And for half a second there, it looked like the ball might sail over his head and into the top corner. Certainly wasn't what Romero had in mind. Perhaps it was. Maybe I'm not giving him enough credit. Brooks. It's going to be an Avondale ball off Sir Dennis. Let's have enough a look at that free kick. Rick, do you think Romero was going for goal?
I don't think so. I think he's overhit it. Just looking at that again. Wind's just probably caught it, and Manos has done well to readjust. It's an awkward one. Again, look at that space in the middle of the park for Preston. Connor Bell's just floated in there now, but not too much connection happening through the middle of the park. Not sure whether that's deliberate. They might be trying to go around the outside of Avondale, especially with those three midfielders, energetic midfielders, clogging up the middle.
The most convincing clearance from Manos.
But Trejczewski's helped him out there.
Industrious work from the number 23 as Towns finds Edwards marauding forward down the left. Courtney Perkins is the spare man. The cut back to the penalty spot is repelled by Jake Tchaikovsky. Now Edwards will strike. And Marcus Schroen steps in way. Isn't he relishing the attacking freedom, having his stint in central defence come to an end? Dan Edwards. Kamara. Zinni. Getting the fullbacks involved again. Preston having to defend from the halfway line now.
See that rotation when Avondale have got the ball here on the left with Aiden Bryce. Cuba's just moving out of that central passing lane into that left half space and allowing the line to open up to Manny Agwek.
Romero taken down cynically, and that will be the game's first booking for Christian Trejczewski. Preston were away. Only his second booking of the season, Trejczewski.
Probably didn't need to do that. He might have actually kept up with him.
All the Avondale players involved today. Only Yite Towns is walking the suspension tightrope. His next yellow will be his fifth. For Preston, Negro, Bozanovsky, Tchaikovsky and Schroen will all be suspended. This is Bell into the middle. Sir Dennis! Giorgio Sir Dennis opens the scoring. Just his second of the campaign. What a move from Preston. They carved Avondale open, and a shock lead here at Genesee Steel Stadium for the home side.
Well, you say shock. I'm not so sure, because we saw the warning signs early on. The press was working. As soon as they've managed to get a bit of control and just recycle it back around the other side, Foligno got off the shoulder of Zinni, which allowed Connor Bell to just spin inside, make the run into the half space. Great ball from Foligno, and again, Serdenas just getting between the centre-backs and on the wrong side of them.
What a ball that is from Dom Foligno.
You can see him on the wrong side. Bell's rotated inside, makes a run into the half space. Great run, Serdenas as well.
Giorgio Serdenas with the diving header.
And again, it's what we were saying earlier. There's not that much connection through the middle, but it seems to be that they're trying to go around Avondale, and that time they went around them with devastating effect.
Sure, there's nothing more satisfying for a coach than a goal that starts with your central defenders playing straight through the other team.
Fantastic, and I know the guys down there would have loved that one. I know how much hard work they put into the preparation for these games. It's always rewarding when you see goals like that. Fantastic.
Well, Preston have trusted the youth today. Dom Foligno, Giorgio Serdenis into the starting lineup. They've both had a crucial part to play in that goal. Credit also to the run of Connor Bell and the deft assist off the outside of his boot.
It's also just going back to the Avondale press, because you can see they're in that almost 4-3-3, 4-5-1, and it presents a dilemma for the wingers, that press, because do you go to the centre-back, do you not go? I think Zinni was caught half and half in between, and that's what allowed probably Foligno to get behind him off the shoulder.
Especially when the ball's switched from left to right like that.
Exactly right.
Do you try and hem in the other centre-back, or do you stay with your man? Now we're opened up.
You can see Trejceski's now doing almost half and half a role. He's in what was a flat 3, but he's sort of stepping up now as soon as Schroen drops out.
So Dennis overdoes it on the flick on for Bell. Kamara left it short. Cuba did enough to bail out his teammate. Price finding Edwards. Avondale get up the pitch. Agwek stretches and keeps possession. Zinni prompting the overlap for Wellsmore. Wellsmore trying to slide it through the gap. Trejceski thought he was fouled. Play goes on. Connor Bell tracking back to deny Emlyn Wellsmore there, and it will be a Preston throw.
It took him a little while to get back there, Connor Bell, and you saw Trejceski free in that sort of right half space area just outside and behind Connor Bell. I just wonder whether, if Emlyn Wellsmore can get more involved in an attacking sense, whether that poses a problem for Connor Bell going forward. If he has to constantly keep tracking back, he hasn't had to do that so far.
Bit of sustained Avondale possession.
Yeah, they needed that. They haven't had too many of these spells just yet, maybe 2 or 3 in the game.
Trying to make Preston run and chase. Open up a gap in midfield.
Brandon Lawton's getting pulled in every direction by Ute Towns at the moment. Now he's just disengaged and found his place back in the shape. And there's Towns popping up.
Towns getting free and collected by Schroen. Ross Clark waves for the advantage. We'll see whether he returns to that challenge. Trejceski for Wellsmore.
There it is again, Cuba moving to the outside so that that passing lane opens up for Manny Agwek. It's not too difficult for Bozanovsky when that happens, but it's really difficult for the midfielders, Lawton and Schroen, who are having to track that. And now they've found themselves in all sorts here.
Towns. Cracking run forward from him, but the pass was behind his teammate. Slows down the Avondale attack. Zinni. Zinni to the byline, lofted ball to the back stick. It's off Courtney Perkins and behind. And it looks as if Schroen will escape with a warning from Ross Clark.
And as this progresses, Preston's two central midfielders are going to need quite a bit of help from the wingers. They're going to have to tuck in a little bit more because they've tended to float and stay out wide a little bit, Brooks and Bell. Just outnumbered. When Romero doesn't come back either, it's 3 against 2 in there. It makes it quite difficult, especially with Agwek dropping in as well. Sometimes it becomes 4 against 2.
Kamara's header into touch. What a fascinating tactical battle this is now. Two coaches who are great friends off the pitch, fierce competitors, and their sides are in action against each other. Fairly similar philosophies, I'd say, both very attack-minded, don't want to take a backward step.
And both fierce competitors as well, which is fantastic. You want a little bit of that on the sideline too.
Foligno's throw for Bell. Foligno. Kamara in the way. Now Trzaskowski. Cuba. Ball got away from him. Sian Cuba just stabbed at it with a toe. Couldn't find Agwek. Agwek pressing like a man possessed. It's going to be an Avondale ball.
Negro just needed someone to connect with him there because Agwek was bearing down. He was hunting him down. Just needed somebody to make themselves available quickly. It's a decent ball too.
It's a magnificent switch of play from Agwek. Zinni's cross. Trzaskowski. Agwek! A snapshot. And the Bronx cheer goes up from the Preston grandstands.
Zoki Markovski rightfully telling Manny Agwek to take a touch first before blazing that over the bar. He had plenty of time.
It's a clever way to get himself free, though, dropping so deep into midfield, playing the switch yourself, and then the defender's attention is drawn elsewhere. A late arrival on the edge of the box. He's got plenty of tools to his game, Agwek. He can score all different sorts of goals, which is why he's such a marvellous player to watch in this competition. Level with Bull Juach and Joe Guest atop the Golden Boot standings on 13. And he scored 8 in his last 7 league games. So a man in red hot form. Trzaskowski.
There's that moment again. Zinni's jumped onto the centre back.
Now Dom Foligno with space to operate in. He finds Romero. Zinni hasn't got back here. Foligno's free again on the overlap. Instead, Romero tried to cross it himself, and perhaps it was the wrong call.
Maybe just a little bit late. I think they had already made their movements, and all three of them were pretty static inside the box.
Bryce. Again, he can't connect with his front line.
Again, there's not that much to connect with for him, to be fair. Agwek's dropping in, but both wingers stayed pinned to the touchline.
I don't know if there's a stronger defender on the ball in the competition than Hayden Bryce, so when the passes aren't sticking, it's usually because his teammates aren't in the right spot. Stroman with all sorts of time to measure this one. And it's over the head of Edwards, and Brooks could be in. Edwards scampering back to make the block.
He's shaking his head. He knows he got his body shape all mixed up there, Dan Edwards.
Negro's throw. Here's a teammate in position. It's the return off Brooks. Negro's delivery into Kamara. So Dennis was making the run, but his marker was all over him. Now Towns just dwelling on the ball for a second. Put Kamara in a difficult spot. Lawton winning it back. Towns just about kept his feet. Still the Preston attack continues. Still Avondale can't get it clear. Brooks. Cross wasn't good enough to beat Bryce. Lawton. Negro.
Great decision, Stephanie Negro. Put his foot on the ball and turned.
Now, Schroen has picked out Foligno. His weaker left foot. Can't beat Zinni with the cross. Tchaikovsky could only flick it on, but Bozanovsky tidies things up at the back for Preston. Tchaikovsky can't take too much time here. Again, Agwek putting in the hard yards up front. Krzyzewski. Clever spin away, and then Agwek wasn't quite involved in the play yet after his big run and slide ahead of Trenkovsky there. Seem to be still recovering from that burst. Sir Dennis winning the flick. Straight to Edwards. Courtney Perkins. Oh, dangerous back pass by Edwards, and Sir Dennis lost his footing. Well, an inquiry going on at the back between Manos and Edwards now. Sir Dennis was barreling at such speed that his first touch deserted him.
He's had a couple of nervy moments there, Edwards. Just needs a good touch on his next one. Good clean pass, maybe. It's unlike him because he's generally pretty reliable.
Well, it's unlike Avondale in general to see them so panicky with the way they're playing out from the back. Usually they are so slick and so confident. They just knife their way through teams when they press right up to the goalkeeper.
I think you have to credit Preston again, like we said early on. The press has been so well organised today and aggressive.
Brooks. Oh, Brooks dwelt on it. Courtney Perkins running in. Tchaikovsky, brilliant sliding challenge. Oh, Sir Dennis, a bit of contact between him and Kamara off the ball. He's down holding his face.
I think it was head to arm more than anything else. It's just run across the front of Kamara there.
Well, Sir Dennis has shaken off the contacts. Can Preston keep up this level of intensity is the question, but this opening half hour has been as impressive as anything they've put together in the top flight since their return, for my money.
Speaking of impressive, that pass out from Trenkovsky a moment ago was fantastic.
Edwards. Courtney Perkins into Towns. Edwards for Agwek. Again, Avondale can't keep it. Agwek is shaken off by Schroen. Brooks. Relentless pressure from Preston. Can they make it count on the scoreboard again?
Great run, Schroen. Fantastic run.
Schroen getting free. Picked out by Brooks. Decent ball from Schroen too. Wellsmore in the right place at the right time. And now Kamara out-muscling Romero. He looks to the referee in vain. This is Cuba. Avondale on the break now. Courtney Perkins. Cuba. Krzyzewski. Christian Krzyzewski has his sights set on goal. He was looking for a teammate beforehand, but no pass opened up that he was a fan of. Oh, and now Lawton nipping in ahead of Yite Towns. And the pass is well overcooked from Brandon Lawton. He had options left and right, but that ball for Sir Dennis would have had to be absolutely perfect, and it wasn't.
A little bit stretched the game in these last moments. Strohan made that excellent run, but he's the anchor in the middle at the moment for Preston. So when he's out of position, there's a lot of space that Brandon Lawton's got to cover, and you saw Trejcheski pick it up on the edge of the box and have a shot, and then on the flip side, Towns getting dispossessed as Avondale's anchor, leaving acres of space. Lawton would have preferred a better decision, I'm sure.
Well, it's been gripping for the neutral as a result. Just end-to-end stuff throughout this first half.
Avondale want more of these situations. Zinni and Courtney Perkins running at fullbacks. They haven't had too many of those moments.
A reverse ball into Agwek, who went for goal from the most acute of angles. And Lucas Trenkovski does what he's expected to do in that position. It was some hit from Agwek, though, from a position where most players wouldn't dream of shooting.
It's Trejcheski making a nuisance of himself, making a run into the half space between the fullback and centre back, and then popping up on the wing and then floating inside to play that ball through to Agwek.
Cuba. Flat delivery is easily dealt with by Sir Dennis. Now the back heel from Bell. Has Romero charging away on the break. Stefan Zinni racing back in support. Those two come together. Zinni hits the deck. Advantage signalled by Ross Clark. Romero twisting this way and that. Two defenders converge on him. Courtney Perkins. Bell. Oh, the ball dropped for him invitingly. But he couldn't get his body shape right for the shot.
That's a huge chance.
Now Romero will tend to that knock, and Stefan Zinni will get some attention.
He's so good at doing that, Bell, isn't he? When the ball's on the opposite side of the box, he finds these little spaces behind the shoulder of the fullback, behind the shoulder of the central defender.
Well, usually that's a technique that Connor Bell hits 9 out of 10 times. He's so good with those little side volleys. We've seen him score a few, including against Avondale at Avenger Park last time out.
That's also twice now that from an Avondale set piece, Preston have countered and burst forward through Romero. Something that Avondale might want to have a look at. Don't think it's a setup issue because they've always got an extra man here on those set pieces, but it's just the way that Preston are coming out of the box on the counter.
It was the delivery from Cuba that left them exposed there.
Yeah, that too. I think it goes back to what we were saying about Preston, though. They've come out super aggressive. They had 3 or 4 streaming out of the box. Just seem to have a lot of energy, a lot of aggression, a lot of intent.
Well, you lose a derby against South Melbourne in the last minute. This is the response you want to see as a supporter. Preston have charged out of the blocks this afternoon. Against one of the best teams, the most dominant sides in this competition over the last few years. 2023, the high watermark for Avondale. 83 goals in 28 games, which is just preposterous. Scored over 100 in all competitions that year. Last year marred by injuries, but this season going toe-to-toe with Heidelberg for the title. They need the 3 points today to close that gap. Heidelberg's win over Hume on Friday put them 4 clear. Now Towns under the cosh again as Bell wins it back and then accepts the ball from Sir Dennis. The ball in from Bell. He only had 1 target to aim for. Now a bit of friendly fire from Manos on his own central defender.
Funny how football sometimes has a way of working out. Romero had gone off injured and took up his place on the left. Bell had gone into the middle for that press and ended up dispossessing Towns and launching an attack.
Now Romero's got to cover this flank.
Trajewski's looking for something ahead of him, but Zinni and Agwek have run into each other there.
Oh, Trajewski was almost free. Romero got there in time after being covered by Strowan on the left flank. Foligno. Anywhere will do. That will do nicely. Picking out Sir Dennis. Bell, the touch was a little heavy. Oh, he scrambled in and won it off Bryce and paid some personal price for it as the referee gets in Brandon Lawton's way. Now the Preston players demanding action be taken against Bryce. Well, it was after the ball had gone, wasn't it? Late from Aiden Bryce on Connor Bell. Looks worse on the replay than it did in live play. Bell just nicks the ball away. And there's a knee. Accidental or otherwise.
Yeah, I don't think it's intentional. I think he's just really late.
We're going to start with a Preston free kick, so no advantage. Schroen's switch is a little misjudged.
It's a moment of confusion between Bell and Romero there in the press.
It's allowed Avondale forward as Zinni traipses in field. Cuba, neat footwork, and Cuba goes for goal. Trenkowski saw it all the way. And speaking about Aiden Bryce, he missed 9 league games, played the 9 before that, so that provides a pretty neat point of comparison for Avondale with and without him. With Bryce in the team, 8 conceded in 9 games, won 8 of their 9. Without, 13 conceded and only won 6, lost 2 of those. So Aiden Bryce, an absolutely crucial cog in this Avondale team. Offside flag has gone up against Avondale.
Yeah, Agwek was just slow to get back on side there. That's frustrating if you're a central defender and you've had to withstand a bit of a barrage and Strike is doing that.
Bell cutting inside. Bozanovsky. Negro. Brooks. Again, Sir Dennis, full of beans, full of energy, harrying and harassing both the central defenders. Avondale get out the other side.
Can see Jason Romero's just following Yite Towns.
Again, Trajewski and Agwek can't connect, and whistle's actually gone against Agwek for a collision off the ball. Bozanovsky tripped.
Yeah, Towns had floated from one side to the other. Romero's just followed him all the way around and just opened a massive space in the middle. Again, not sure if it's by design with Preston's 10 man marking the 6, but happened to be the case there, and he found himself way out of position.
A shout for handball. Agwick dispossessed by Bozanovsky. Mero's pass took a big deflection. Brooks 1v1 with Edwards. Stuck in a phone booth there. Trzaskowski battles for it. Lawton has two Avondale players charging at him.
Great work, Lawton.
Absolutely superb from Brandon Lawton. Bozanovsky's options in front of him were limited.
Just a bit of a miscommunication or misunderstanding between Brooks and Bozanovsky. Brooks had rotated inside, wanted the ball to feet. Bozanovsky's looking in behind. He's thought he was close enough to play that ball beyond Avondale's left back.
That's a pass Preston love to play if they can. Just slipping Brooks in behind after drawing the opposition onto them. Three minutes up on the fourth officials board to end the half. The first 45 has been appointment viewing in the match of the round here in NPL Victoria.
It's flown by. Don't know about you.
Absolutely.
Again, you can see Schroen's tracking Cuba all the way across the park, and he's done well there.
Excellent stretch from Schroen. Gets a round of applause from the supporters as he puts it into touch. Wellsmore's throw is back to his centre backs. And Bryce spots a bit of real estate in front of him. Finds Edwards down the left. Bryce again a long way forward of the halfway line. Cuba goes from all of 40 metres and Bozanovsky's in the way. Towns slipping it through the gap. Lawton nipping in. Preston don't quite have the numbers for the break unless Romero can scythe his way through the Avondale defence. Leighton Brooks. Deflection on the cross, and it's a comfortable claim for Tom Manos.
Avondale are almost bringing this on themselves, which is surprising because they had a moment there. They had the ball in the middle of the park, and Courtney Perkins is one-on-one with Negro if they can get it out there, because Brooks is trying to stay a little bit higher. And if they can find that one-on-one, they can attack these fullbacks. Like I said earlier, they haven't managed to do that in the first half.
It's kept the game right where Preston wants it, which is in congested midfield areas where they can win it, with Schroen and Lawton making those interceptions and bursting away in transition. Last action of the half. That ball stayed in. Now Preston throw in the attacking third. But Preston won't have time to take it. And they'll go into the rooms very satisfied with their performance. What a half from the Preston Lions. And they're a goal to the good against one of the dominant teams in this competition. A huge response from last week. But still a mountain to climb, Rick. The halftime score, Preston 1, Avondale 0. How have you seen it?
Like we said, Preston came out with a definite point to prove after last week, and you can see it. You can see the aggression, you can see the energy, especially in the press. I think Avondale, they've had up there? Who's up there with him? Bull, George, and Guesty. He's a machine. He's a machine. He's so good. If he, hey, no. I saw one of the goals, and then what was I doing on Friday? That's what I was saying to you the other day at the cafe with, what's his name? Like, the names are in front of you.
And we're away for the second half at Jenna Steele Stadium. Preston Lions 1, Avondale 0 at the break. Giorgio Serdenis with the game's only goal. His first league goal since round 2 away against Dandenong City. He's been limited largely to substitute appearances this season, but trusted with the starting spot today, and he's repaid the coach's faith with a brilliantly taken diving header. Superb work from Dom Foligno and Connor Bell in the lead up to that one as well. Josh Parrish here alongside Rick Marchioli for what's been a just enthralling battle so far between two attacking and sophisticated teams who are both giving this one everything. Rick, what are you watching out for in this second half? We haven't seen the substitution we were expecting to at the break.
Yeah, Zocchi strikes me as someone who's heavily invested in the mentality side of things, so it'll be interesting to see whether he and Jeff and Andy can get a little bit more energy out of this Avondale side in the second half. But I was just saying, at the conclusion of that half, the loss of Tavia for this game and some of the off-the-ball movements that he makes in comparison to Cuba. Cuba's a different player to look at Tavia.
Well, Giorgio Sardenis has just copped a kick to the knee. I think it's just a contact injury and nothing requiring further treatment.
Yeah, just on that, on the two midfielders, you see often Tavir will float about in pockets, but he makes fantastic runs behind the defensive line as well, which Sian Cuba hasn't been able to do as much today. He tends to prefer picking the ball up behind or either side of the six and having a dig or creating from there, even arriving in the box, but they haven't managed to get the ball wide in those 1v1s, as we said that often.
Quick free kick taken by Cuba. Frees up Wellsmore. Disappointing delivery.
It's the first time he's got a cross in, though. It's a good sign.
Hasn't been as involved in the attack as you would have imagined, Emlyn Wellsmore, especially given the sort of player he is, who can play in various midfield roles as well as at right back.
You can see the intent early from Avondale. Courtney Perkins just spun and took off behind Negro, and so did Zinni. So both wingers evidently trying to get behind Preston early.
It was a superb first half from Preston. Can they back it up in the second? And what response to Avondale have in store?
Read that well, Edwards. Little drop of the shoulder and spin out from Brooks, but
Edwards has found Courtney Perkins. Ball ricochets back to the left back.
And there's another cross from a fullback.
Yeah, a lot higher in this second half. Noticeable immediately.
The sort of team that usually gets 2 or 3 good crosses in from wingers as well per half, Avondale. So it was a little bit surprising in the first half they weren't able to do that as much. Maybe Courtney Perkins readjusting to playing on the wing after a few weeks at fullback.
Well, Marcus Schroen has been penalised here for a hold on Sian Cuba. That's one thing he usually offers Cuba in spades, is dead ball ability. The angle does favour the right foot as well.
Maybe a little bit soft on Schroen there, just watching it back, but probably didn't need to put the arm over the shoulder or around the arm. Cuba was facing backwards.
Big chance for Avondale here off a dead ball. Cuba, whip and dip on that. Had Trenkovsky scrambling. Was overhit and over the bar. Now there's a problem for the Preston goalkeeper. He's fallen heavily in his dive at that. Oh, he's just crashed into the post. That's a painful one.
Foligno, I think it was, who completely lost Edwards at the back. If my vision's serving me correctly, there's a bit of space too in that zonal setup between Bozanovsky and Romero for Preston. Courtney Perkins made a little movement into that space, and if the ball was clipped to the front post, might have been a little bit of danger there for Preston.
Preston going against a pretty strong wind in this half. Kamara climbing over the top of Sir Dennis. He gets a free kick for his troubles. But that'll be a factor, not as much distance on the goal kicks, allowing Avondale to set their defensive line just that little bit higher. Foligno looking for Bell. Not a bad ball either. Wellsmore did enough. Bozanovsky into space. Connor Bell checking inside Wellsmore. And no whistle. Wellsmore finding Towns. Brooks nearly nipped in. Trojczewski does enough to ride the challenge. And it frees up Dan Edwards, charging down the left. Short one for Courtney Perkins. Agwek, his touch deserted him. Good recovery though. Edwards. Cuba. Trojczewski. Courtney Perkins. Negro staying with him every step of the way. First touch popped up on Edwards there. And Preston will play their way out. As Brooks finds Romero. A lot of air underneath that switch. Wellsmore with the cushioned header back to his goalkeeper. Slightly risky one.
3 strong moments from Emlyn Wellsmore on this side. Looked risky, but I would say composed, Josh.
And then a late challenge from Wellsmore on Sir Dennis. Ross Clark looking for a bit of guidance from his 4th official who was right in front of the incident. 3 strong moments and 1 very strong tackle.
Fair play to Ross in the middle there. He wasn't sure if it was a foul. He was relying on the 4th official to just help him out, maybe with a better view. It's definitely a foul.
You can say that again. Maybe Wellsmore a little fortunate to avoid the book.
Second time they've attempted that ball into the channel from a free kick, Preston. But planting it almost on the head of Kamara, that's bread and butter for him.
Schroen barking the order at Bell to make that run in behind. Pass didn't match the instruction from the captain. Felino getting a foot in. Lawton making the challenge while he was still on the deck. And the whistle will go against him as there's a blow up afterwards. UJ Towns and Marcus Schroen getting all tangled up.
Avondale want to get going quickly. They want to get the ball down and play. So all of these delays and pauses are going to be ultra frustrating as they try and get back into the game.
And they're looking for at least 1 more stoppage so they can bring Stefan Valentini on. We saw him warming up at half-time. Certainly an impactful inclusion off the bench on Tuesday night. A match-winning double in extra time against Dandenong Thunder to send Avondale back to the Australia Cup national stages.
Trojczewski there just tried to turn out. The counter press was good from Avondale, but he's tried to turn out. He might have had space to face forward there. Agwek dropped in. Brought Schroen with him. Trojczewski found himself in a nice little pocket. Had a look over the shoulder and he's just turned out. And fortunately, wasn't able to create anything from a good position.
Now we see that change. Valentini on for Courtney Perkins. Got his chance today to play further forward after spending weeks and weeks as a makeshift right fullback.
Valentini's gone to 9 as well, so Agwek's come out to the right-hand side by the looks of things. Zinni's gone out to the left.
Interesting reshuffle. Oh, Brooks.
Sedena's just held his run.
He's worried about the offside, I think, just on his heels.
Just got the timing wrong. It's good work from Brooks, though, coming inside just to narrow things off, and he's picked the pocket a couple of times. There's Trojczewski in that pocket again.
As you say, Trojczewski getting free, Valentini getting involved straight away. Felino gives Preston a chance to reset. It could have been through 1v1 a moment ago. Brooks and Sir Dennis had been on the same wavelength. And That's a heavy pass. Nite Towns can't keep it alive. Romero thinking about the quick one.
You've seen Krajewski pick the ball up in that pocket 2 times in 5 minutes. You want your winger to narrow off because it's a big job for Schroen and Lawton to cover that space when you've got Agwek or Valentini now dropping into it as well.
Oh, Sir Dennis. Here's a human wrecking ball up there sometimes. Gave Bryce a few issues. Bozanovsky. Kamara had to be sure about it. And again, composed with the cushioned header.
Bozza will say he meant that ball.
Krajewski has been very busy. And he's going to go for it himself. He was ambitious, but always sailing off target. And getting a bit of joy lately in this right inside channel, Christian Krajewski.
Yeah, just wonder whether he can carry that a little bit further and maybe draw Trajkovski out and maybe slip in Agwek or Valentini.
I think that was the instruction from the bench from Zoran Markovski. Keep driving with the ball. Force defenders to make decisions rather than making their decision for them. Wind has died down here in the reservoir just for a moment. Agwek.
It's better from Cuba as well.
Oh,
there he is.
Decent ball from Agwek too, but Cuba was the wrong side of the last defender.
Watch that back. I'm not sure he was.
I think he was trying to duck back on side, but maybe not in time. It's my instinct.
That's the one we were speaking about at halftime, though. Just the one that Cuba maybe needs to make a little bit more of, that little run, especially between centre-back and full-back.
It's close. Trajkovski may have been seeing that one out anyway. Wynn takes that free kick straight out of play. Wellsmore has to go into the Preston dugout to fetch it. Valentini off the shoulder. Yeah, so Dennis hits the deck again, edging an arm from Kamara. Preston calling for a head injury, so the game will have to be stopped. Oh, Preston bench incensed. Not sure how you saw that one, Rick.
Strong challenge.
There was an arm.
Yeah, I think it's Kamara just trying to get leverage. It's just the way that he jumps into things. I don't think there's too much malice or intention behind it. He's just trying to get his arm up so he can get a little bit higher. I was just going to say, Avondale seem pretty intent to keep going down the same side and getting a lot of players around the ball, but they've had a couple of moments where they can maybe swing it back out and move the ball to the opposite side and try and attack down that way, but yeah, just can't seem to find that out ball back through either Towns or Kamara and Bryce at the moment. Sometimes can happen when you're 1-0 down and you're super keen to try and get yourself back into it with an equaliser, and you're maybe going forward when you don't have to, or trying to go down the same side when you don't have to either.
Just a bit of impatience.
Perhaps.
Giorgio Serdenis looks a little worse for wear. He will be assessed. Preston down to 10 for the time being. He wants back on ASAP, but still relitigating that non-decision with the fourth official. Oh, Aiden Bryce has been robbed of possession And Leighton Brooks could be in for Preston's second, but the shot is straight at Manos. Big save from the Avondale goalkeeper. The 10 men of Preston with a glorious opportunity.
Don't know if Leighton Brooks was listening to us up in the tower, because he's anticipated that almost 30 seconds after we mentioned it up here.
Agwek. Has trickled out on Schroen. So Dennis has been allowed back onto the field of play, still rubbing that sore head.
Schroen's been everywhere. He's everywhere. He's covering nearly every blade of grass. I just wonder how long he can maintain that.
Cuba nipping in. His shot is blocked. Just like most of his attempts this afternoon. Brooks, arrow pass in. Kamara's in trouble now. And the yellow card comes out against Kalalu Kamara. Well, the Avondale bench seeing that one very differently to the officials.
Lovely technique from Leighton Brooks to try and release Sedenas there as well. Awkward bobbling ball, and he's just laced it into his path and put Kamara into an awkward position as Sedenas ran across the front of him.
I don't think Kamara was getting there necessarily if he didn't make contact with Sedenas, which is why the yellow tickets come out. Poor Giorgio Sedenas is very sore now. He's got a knock in the head, knock to the knees. Now Luke Jego. He's ready to come on for Preston. Jonas Markovski getting his final instructions as well. Judging by the board, it will be Marcus Schroen who will be withdrawn. It's been excellent today. Maybe a planned substitution. Brooks. Very cleverly done, but Avondale defence deal with the cross really well. Edwards up as far as Valentini. Preston ball. And now that double change will be made. It's a difficult one for the Preston bench because you just want more of the same really, but you also need to manage the energy levels of players who haven't necessarily started too many games in Sir Dennis and Schroen. Both have been key contributors.
Schroen just added a different balance to that central midfield for Preston today. Definitely, I don't know whether it's his preferred position, but it's definitely the position that I certainly prefer watching him play in, even earlier on at previous clubs. Just always seems to find space, very composed, seems to choose the right passes going forward. And when you lose players of the calibre of Oli Kubile and Emil Payos in there, to have a replacement ready to start like that isn't bad, is it?
That's the area of depth that Preston recruited heavily in pre-season, central midfield, and they've needed all those players really for various reasons. Emil Payos going down with that broken leg. And various injuries and suspensions in that area of the park. Christian Trzaskowski. Edwards Tchaikovsky judged the cross well. Risky flick from Bell. And now Wellsmore plays in Agwek with the daisy cutter. Not hit with enough venom to really give Lucas Tchaikovsky any nightmares.
Excellent work in transition from Wellsmore again. He's had a better half.
Agwek.
Again, it's that moment there where maybe Agwek's body shape to receive that can be a little bit more aggressive. He's in a better position now.
Sliding it through for Valentini.
Great run.
Big chance for Avondale here. Luke Jego does just enough. And surely a free kick against Christian Tchaikovsky.
That's clever. Connor Bell just cutting across the front of Tchaikovsky and didn't really give him much choice.
Making up for his errant back heel on the edge of his own box a moment ago.
Saying just a moment ago with Agwek, maybe coming away from that fullback a little bit so that he can take that first touch facing him and not slow the move down so much. It's a little bit predictable for Preston at the moment, and I'm sure the Avondale coaching staff, that's definitely not something that they're about. I know they generally want that front three pretty aggressive.
Foligno had to get rid of it. Jonas Markovsky now playing as that lone front man. John Albano getting ready to come on. Manos. A few jeers from the home supporters. He draws the pressure. This is Wellsmore. Cuba. Stefan Zinni has Edwards in support if he wants him. Zinni coming inside. Combining with Wellsmore. See Edwards on the far side, had both arms in the air wanting the ball. Still, Avondale combining promisingly on the edge of Preston's box. And an errant pass from Agwek. And allows Brooks to strike one into space.
Second time he's done that in this half, Brooks. Early release on the counter.
It's actually stunning technique when he hits those passes with his laces. Really marvellous to watch.
Cuba and Tchaikovsky are getting about now. A lot more aggressive, making runs in behind.
Tchaikovsky racing off his line.
Just need one of those to stick. I was going to say, in the previous passage, you could see that Preston have adjusted to Tchaikovsky picking the ball up in this right half space here, but then when you're playing 3 against 2 in the middle, if it's a moment that Jason Romero doesn't track, Avondale can then find Cuba in the opposite pocket, so it's a bit of a dilemma for those two holding midfielders for Preston, because you cover one, but then the other one pops up just off your shoulder if Avondale are able to switch it out to him.
Romero perhaps not quite as involved in an attacking sense in this half. As Preston have absorbed more pressure. Not too many clear-cut chances for Avondale, though. Preston have had the only 1v1. Oh, Lawton and Tchaikovsky in a wrestling match. Brandon Lawton pleading innocence. Avondale will have a free kick well within Sion Kubic's striking range.
And you can see the intent from Zinni. He wants to go, but Bell's got back and made it a 2v1, and really a nothing moment there. Brandon Lawton just trying to get in front of Tchaikovsky, and he's wrestled him to the ground.
Albano still bouncing on the balls of his feet, waiting for his cue.
Just wonder whether that's a bit of fatigue from Brandon Lawton as well, because he's come off generally around this time in recent weeks.
Do Preston have the depth on the bench to cover him? And Leighton Brooks has gone off on the far side, I believe. Well, the border's gone up. And Leighton Brooks is going to get a yellow card. Well, it's harsh on Brooks. He didn't know whether to stay on or come off. Preston have been forced to make that change anyway. On comes Albano. Moment of confusion between the fourth official and the Preston bench resulted in Leighton Brooks getting a parting gift from Ross Clark. And finally, Sion Cuba, after a long wait, will strike this one. Cuba, too close to Trenkovski, and after all that build-up, a really underwhelming end product. Lucas Trenkovski nearly taking out his own head coach with the kick out. Save was well held though. Valentini. Seen out by Foligno.
It's well tracked. Can get caught ball watching in that sort of moment. Valentini just taking it on the chest and flicking it over his head, and Foligno was alert to Zinni's run.
Bryce always favoured to win that header. And he drops to Lawton though. Oh, clever touch from Bell over the head of Aidan Bryce. Now John Albano, his first involvement. Return ball to Bell. Hangs up across to the back post. And Manos off the bouncing ball. We'll gather that up and start the Avondale counter. Cuba. Agwek, Bell barreling in. A shove from Agwek, and Bell was trying to get back to his feet. Tempers flaring again in this one. Valentini. Well done by Bozanovski. Stunning touch from Trzaskowski, that. And the curse of the commentator strikes.
The idea was good, just misjudged Cuba's little movement there. It's that earlier moment that Preston have got to be alert to, not careful of, because you don't necessarily want to stop attacking, but the moments that they do attack, got Brandon Lawton and Jego should be fresh, but you know, Lawton, like I said, hasn't played a 90 in a while, and when the game gets stretched and you're on the attack and Avondale are coming back at you in the opposite direction, and you need to perhaps screen the central defenders and help them out a little bit, can sometimes be a bit of a recipe for danger. Just need to make sure that their organisation behind the ball is spot on.
Avondale were unbeaten in 7 in all competitions coming into this game. It'll be a result well against the form book if Preston can pull it off. Avondale copping some boos from the grandstand after that little scuffle. Kamara. Valentini slides the ball through for Emlyn Wellsmore. It's got a long time to line up that cross. He's won a corner though. Cuba to take.
Preston just readjusting the zonal setup on account of the wind, but it's an outswinger, so...
Well, it's missed everybody. Bryce sending it back into the danger area. Cuba. Chopping infield. Cuba off his left. Again, it's a high hanging ball. Too far away from the box.
You can see again, those are the moments, an Avondale set piece, and you can see Asevsky and Kristevsky frantically reorganising the zone.
Edwards. Trajewski. Negro. Hitting the deck. Play goes on as Ross Clark dodges out of the way, and then Towns taken out by Romero. Preston wondering why the earlier free kick wasn't paid.
It's been a little while since Preston had a controlled possession as well, and then that sort of momentum, when that's swinging back against you, can be pretty difficult to resist. You don't want to invite Avondale too much to arrive in their front third.
It looks like Agwek has got his sights set on this one. Ross Clark just policing where the ball is placed. Another set piece chance as Agwek skies his effort. It's been a real feature of today's game. Avondale not making their free kicks and corners count.
Can't recall Trenkovsky having to make a major save either. Correct me if I'm wrong.
And one from the free kick, but that was a pretty straightforward one. I think you're right, Rick. Rarely has he been tested, despite the waves and waves of pressure that Preston have soaked up in this second half. Avondale have carved out very little in terms of actual clean shots on target.
Again, I just wonder whether the 120 minutes the other night might have affected the sharpness and freshness of this team, because it's certainly uncharacteristic. They're, like I said earlier, they're a side that usually creates 3 or 4 good chances per half. Plenty of attacking weapons, a lot of speed in the attack as well.
Oh, it looks like they're changing the structure quite significantly. Ethan Pisani's come on to replace Stefan Zinni, so 3 at the back.
Definite 3 at the back. Clever again from Connor Bell. Second time he's done that.
So as a coach, Rick, why on earth, if you're a goal down away from home, would you bring on a defender to replace a winger? What options does it give you? I guess we'll find out.
Perhaps gets, depending on, we'll see the setup in a moment when they get back on the ball, but perhaps might get more players onto Preston's final line of defence. Sometimes you can get more plays in the middle that way and get a little bit more control and create a little bit more. We'll see it in a moment.
Markowski. Romero. Jego caught in his heels. Valentini is full of running. And now Jego getting in the way of Jake Trajewski's pass. Avondale want to play this quickly. Valentini's touch. Wellsmore. Trajewski been drawn a long way from home. Have that Preston central defence. Bryce. Pisani.
Yeah, you can see the number of Avondale players just hovering in and around Preston's last line. Agwek's a little bit more central again. It's floating, but you got Trajewski and Cuba both arriving on that last line, and both the wing backs as well, Edwards and Courtney Perkins.
Jonas Markowski has no one ahead of him. He's just going to have to put his head down and run somewhere. Oh, he's left it short for Jego. Towns faulting the challenge. Bozanovski's not going to let him pass there one way or another. And he will go into the book, which means Matt Bozanovski will miss next week's game. A big one away at the Oakley Cannons as well.
Had a moment in the previous passage when Jonas Markovski dropped in to pick that ball up in transition. All three Avondale centre-backs had dropped off. There's no threat behind them. Got to be more aggressive there.
Preston filing the paperwork for another change. Anderson is going to come on to shore things up.
Yeah, I anticipate Anderson might just drop in between Bozanovski and Trajkovski just to rectify that that overload that Avondale have put on their last line, potentially. Unless he's coming on for Lawton just to help screen in front. See.
And Brandon Lawton has rarely played 90 minutes this season, so that could be the move if he's going to play out of position in midfield.
Slide.
Well, the flag went up. The referee ignored it. Valentini drives it across goal. Preston incensed. Romero. A difficult one for Albano. It's the second bite at this. And he wins the throw.
You say that's generally the threat. When you go to a back three and you send your wing backs that high, it's the wingers coming back the other way, but neither Connor Bell nor Gian Albano are really those direct runners that are going to go straight up the line and in behind.
It's going to be Romero who comes off, so very attacking-minded number 10. It's going to make way for a central defender. We'll see what that means for the structure. Could well be three at the back, as you say, Rick. It could be Luke Jego or Lawton pushed a little bit further forward.
Could just be 5-4-1 as well. Again, we'll see soon, but if he slots in between the two central defenders, it'll be Jego and Lawton as the central midfielders, the two wingers, and Jonas Markovski up top.
Very rarely have Preston played with three at the back in Louis Etseski's time in charge. So.
And he's not going there. He's gone into the middle.
Yep.
So Brandon Lawton playing as the 10.
And just a bit more defensive steel in that midfield three as Preston try and see this 1-0 lead to its conclusion.
See how far Albano's dropped off just to keep Dan Edwards in his sights. It's almost nullifying that advantage, any advantage Avondale had on that last line. It's making things a little bit static for Avondale. It's difficult to run into space that doesn't exist.
Wellsmore skipping past Foligno. Wellsmore to cross. Edwards did too much against Albano. Just wrenched him out of the way with his arms, and he wasn't going to get away with that. Now Lucas Trenkowski has a problem. Stefan Valentini. Don't think you need us to interpret what he thinks about this injury stoppage. Believe that Preston have used all three of their injury stoppages now, so they won't be able to bring backup keeper Jacob Ognanovsky on if Trenkowski is unable to continue.
Interesting to see whether Avondale roll the dice with any other changes or any other movements because, like I said, the wing-backs being high effectively pins Preston's wingers back into that defensive line, and they'll be happy to do that because they're 1-0 up. Just means that it's potentially less space for Avondale to get behind them, relying potentially on a moment of magic or a dribble or something that unlocks Preston, especially with Aaron Anderson patrolling in front of that line now as well.
Lawton, hasn't he been industrious today? Ball's going to trickle out on Jonas Markowski. Valentini finding a gap for Cuba. And now Avondale could be away. Sian Cuba out to Wellsmore. And telegraph that one. Aaron Anderson thumps that as far as he can muster. Danger averted for now. Valentini bustling his way through. Agwek took it on the chest. Wouldn't sit for him on the volley.
You can see, though, the one dangerous moment that they've had was when Cuba burst through the middle, skipped past.
This is Towns. Cuba's free on the right. Trzaskowski will do it himself. Christian Trzaskowski! Valentini, point-blank range! And it's saved by Lucas Trenkowski.
There it is again, midfielder dribbling to unlock the space. And while it can be comfortable, if they're passing the ball side to side with your wingers dropped in, if midfielders start doing what Cuba and Trzaskowski have done in the last couple of minutes, it becomes very, very difficult because you start pulling players out of position, you start opening spaces to attack in.
This is Connor Bell. Limping inside. Bryce will ride the challenge easily. Trzaskowski. His cross was brilliant a moment ago. Can he not unlock the Preston backline again? It's a massive chance for Valentini. Oh, Albano didn't know whether to stick or twist there. Edwards. Can Preston cling on here? Lawton. Nicely judged pass for Markowski, who leads a one-man break. He's going to take this to the corner. No, he's going, Jonas Markowski. And loses out to Kamara. Groans of disapproval from the back of the grandstands.
You can see how close Luke Jego's hanging next to Manny Agwek in the middle there.
And that's a big number up on the board. 8 minutes of stoppage time to be played. Sorry, you were saying, Rick?
Yeah, Jego's just hanging really close to Manny Agwek, almost on top of his own central defenders, which means Towns and Trzaskowski and Cuba are able to get plenty of space and time on the ball. Edwards has even moved in there now to try and find a bit of space in that left pocket.
Agwek.
Cuba's dropping no-look passes, 1-0 down in the 89th minute.
Cuba. Bozanovski's free header away. Every man back for Preston. 7.5 more minutes of this. Preston fans will be a nervous wreck at this point as Kamara goes for goal! Kalalu Kamara from absolutely nowhere. The daisy cutter sneaks inside the post. And Avondale with a pot shot are back on level terms.
There's a couple of things there, Josh. When you're sitting that deep and trying to protect the lead, we said earlier, Avondale dropped off when Jonas Markovski picked the ball up. That time they were aggressive. All three central defenders in their attacking half, counter press. And maybe Trenkovski unsided there with the amount of bodies in his way as Kamara hit that ball.
Tempers flaring again as Valentini went in for seconds on Negro.
But yeah, it can happen. You're sitting deep, not always voluntarily. You're sort of trying to protect a lead, and it can get pretty tricky to get bodies and numbers out to press the ball and apply enough pressure to either stop passes or stop shots, and that's sometimes the result.
And what action is Ross Clark going to take?
Neither side really needs that at the moment, do they? Both teams want to get on with it and try and find the winner. Maybe suits Preston a little bit more because Avondale had a bit of momentum there for a moment.
Here come the cards. Yellow card for Valentini, yellow card for Agwek, and one for Aaron Anderson for his role in the melee.
Valentini's been pretty busy since coming on and not always with his feet. It's a real handful.
Albano. Harmless in the end.
He's got to cover for Connor Bell now because Connor Bell made the run across and into the box. Albano's just come out to this side to cover for him.
Tchaikovsky missed it. Foligno on the cover.
Again, that's Avondale just sitting off a little bit in that moment in transition, and Lawton robbed.
Lawton took too much time on that one. Maybe didn't get a shout from a teammate that he needed.
Good recovery though, Brandon Lawton.
We have to get go! Go!
Oh, Bryce.
Strong.
No whistle. Referee deems it shoulder to shoulder. Tchaikovsky. Valentini into Foligno and behind. Avondale corner. They are going for the jugular here. It's been a Sunday afternoon thriller at Jenna Steele Stadium.
There's a spare man in there for Avondale. It's either side of Jego.
Preston survive. Anderson only had one pass on, and Avondale saw it coming. Negro. Kamara. Wellsmore. Angled ball. Trenkovsky comes to claim. Preston just haven't had an outlet in these last few minutes to relieve some of that attacking pressure that Avondale have put them under. Cuba.
Can't remember a moment of sustained Preston possession in the second half. Again, whether they were content with that result sometimes can happen involuntarily. You go into that protection mode knowing that maybe it's a little bit unexpected, the position that you find yourself in, but ultimately doing that invites this level of pressure that they've had to face for the majority of the second half of the second half.
Well, they survived for so long. Avondale, until that Valentini header, really didn't have a clear chance. Would be harsh on Preston if they walk away with nothing from this. They've almost soaked up that 8 minutes of stoppage time.
It can be tough sometimes from a mentality perspective when you know you've got that lead to protect, you're running out of legs, and you see 8 minutes go up on the board as well.
Regardless of when the goal comes, which was fairly early.
Yeah, that's right.
Just as that demoralising thing from thinking that you're nearly at the finish line and you've still got a huge chunk to go. Only 3 points will do for the Avengers in their pursuit of the title, though.
You can see, unfortunately for Preston, how reactive it is. They've got holding midfielders just tracking Avondale's midfielders. Almost at the mercy of where they're moving to.
Agwek. No way past Bozanovsky.
Excellent, Bozanovsky.
Here goes Bell around Pisani. Bryce coming over. And a well-timed challenge from Aiden Bryce.
Two excellent interceptions from both central defenders. Bozanovsky on one side and Bryce on the other. Two of the better performing centre-backs in the competition, showing their quality there in one passage.
Cuba. The cutback. Simple clearance for Jego. We've played 8 minutes of stoppage time and then some. All at the discretion of the referee now. Kamara. Does he fancy another from range? Still Kalalu Kamara. Clips it to Cuba. The offside flag is up. And that is full time. And Preston take a point from this game. It could have been 3 if not for Kalalu Kamara and his late contribution. A spectacular goal from long range from the central defender joining the attack. Avondale survive a huge scare here. They're still 3 points off the top. Oh, what a game we've seen, Rick.
Yeah, I think Preston can be pretty happy with their first half. Avondale showing the quality of their mentality in the second half. Tactical change coming to fruition as well for them in the end. It's kicking off a little bit. No surprise to see Valentini in the middle of it.
Usually got something to say, Stefan Valentini. Well, we'll sign off here on the live stream. It's a game that's had so much intensity and feeling between these two sides. Spills over into a war of words at full time. Preston led through Giorgio Sir Dennis in the first half. Kalalu Kamara with the late leveller in stoppage time. The final score at Geneseo Stadium is Preston Lions 1, Avondale 1.